do you think you're going?
Ethan, please help me. Ethan, help me.
In Resident Evil 7, you get to play as Ethan Winters, who's just received a message from his wife Mia asking him to come and save her. Now, Mia's been missing for over 3 years and was presumed dead, so of course Ethan will decide to get inside his car, drive towards the source of the message, and hopefully save his wife. Now, this plot is not going to sound very reasonable to you in the sense that our protagonist is already acting quite stupidly. He does not arm himself in any way, although he's from Texas. He does not contact the authorities. He even doesn't contact anyone, really. He's just getting a call while he's driving from someone I assume is a friend, a co-worker, someone, a relative perhaps. And he's just giving him a rough explanation of what he's doing, simply to tell us the plot rather than whoever that other person is. He doesn't say send help, he doesn't say contact the police, none of that happens. And this is one of the problems I'm going to be having with Ethan in this game, is that he's going to be very unreasonable and stupid. And this is going to get him hurt many times. At times I found myself looking at the screen and saying, why? Stop doing this. But before I go deeper into this, I also want to mention that this plot seems extremely familiar to the one from Silent Hill 2, where if you remember, or for those of you who haven't played it, I'll just give you a short summary of it. Your main protagonist there is called James Sunderland, and James, his wife Mary, is sending him a letter asking him to meet her in Silent Hill. Now, Mary has been dead for a while, so you can see the resemblance is quite stunning. But we're going to go deeper into the story and the characters, and we'll see how things play out from there. Now, when it comes to references, you're going to notice that the game not only sounds plot-wise like a Silent Hill game, but also resembles one that never came to be. I'm talking, of course, about Silent Hills, and especially the playable teaser we got to see not a long time ago. If you pay attention to the house you walk in, yeah, it's very damaged and it doesn't really look the same. But now here's some footage from Silent Hills PT, and you will notice that you're walking through these corridors, you got the wobbly camera going on, you have the subtle noises coming, and as you play the game, if you have had the chance to play the PT, or at least have had the chance to watch videos on YouTube from it, you're going to have a deja vu moment here and there. And don't get me wrong, I actually think that's a very good thing. I welcome such things. And I thought that it's interesting. Besides, this trailer was received extremely positive, so why the hell not? Why shouldn't they take something that works well and incorporate it in their games? But there are other references as well, which we're going to see in a moment. So obviously what I've told you about the plot is not going to be enough to describe whatever is happening in there. You're going to meet the Baker's family, and you're going to find out some interesting secrets, especially if you read the files lying around throughout the house, pay attention to the photos, and replay the game, because once the game actually unfolds and explains itself to you, you're going to notice that there's more to it than meets the eye. And here, for example, we see a videotape sequence. You're going to find those throughout the house and play them. They're going to give you hints on how to do certain things, solve certain puzzles, but also show you a little bit more about the story, things that happened before Ethan got there. And of course, you have to suspend your disbelief here, because the camera angles and the fact that people suddenly have both of their hands in front of the camera indicates that either someone had some kind of an ancient GoPro back there, or of course this is not very realistic, so we're not going to actually judge this. But if you look at this guy facing away like that, I can immediately say another reference here is obvious to me. It's the Blair Witch Project, which if you have watched, and it was a pretty interesting movie, ends pretty much like this one and fades to black pretty much similar like this one, with the camera falling on the ground, screams being heard. And that's again something that I actually welcome, because what happened here is the creators of Resident Evil decided, and let's take all those scary things that seems to have worked, that people liked, and make them into a game. So that's something that I enjoyed. But again, they should have given us a little bit more realism with Ethan. He's just a weird character. What I'm trying to say here is that Ethan is going to find his wife within the first 10 to 15 minutes of starting the game. And this is going to be the person he's been looking for the past 3 years. He assumed she was dead, and he's going to be shocked about finding her. But his reaction is very minimalistic yet again. He doesn't seem to express much in terms of emotion. In this particular scene, in the many scenes where he gets injured in the most horrific ways, his reactions are again pretty laid back when it considers that his limbs get chopped off quite frequently in this game. And all in all, just his reaction seems out of place most of the time, or just underplayed. And I'm pretty convinced that it's not the voice actor's fault. I think that actually he hasn't been given lines to work with. Because if we look at Mia, for example, you're going to see the well, it's not the exact opposite in terms that she's overplaying it, but she's just right in every moment. This voice actress is nailing everything. Her lines are awesome, so she's got things to work with. And she has to be a very complicated character because she's infected. She has to be sometimes calm, nice, and at other times aggressive, shrieking, attacking. And this all has to be played out. You get to see Mia in her calm, normal state. Then you get to see her in her extremely affected, furious state where she's shrieking and attacking. Then you get to see her in a normal state but angry. And these sometimes switch within a matter of seconds, which is very interesting to watch. And definitely all her reactions, all her behavior is absolutely appropriate at all times. And that's something that I don't see in Ethan at all. And it's very unusual for a company to put so much love into a secondary character rather than into the protagonist himself. Now, when it comes to the other characters in the game, some of them suffer from the same problem. The bakers, however, are not in that count. Well, I'd say not, but actually Lucas, sometimes the son, does behave weirdly. But all in all, the voice acting is excellent. But the thing with Ethan is really bothering me at times. And I found myself screaming at the screen and asking him why he's doing certain things and why he's saying or not saying anything. As a matter of fact, I would like to play the moment he finds Mia again, but this time I'm going to let you listen to what he says. And you're going to notice immediately that instead of him reacting overexcited about having found his missing wife after 3 years of absence after he assumed she was dead, he seems happy, but he seems not that much. I don't know how to explain it. Just more like you found someone who's been missing for 3 hours rather than for 3 years. He doesn't seem to hug her. He doesn't seem extremely happy. Obviously, the environment will play a role. They're in some kind of a dungeon. He has to be careful. He can't raise too much hell. But still, I just find his reaction very weird. Now I'll show you a few more clips just to compare and to demonstrate how this is a recurring theme in the game.
Mia, oh, thank God I found you. It's me. It's Ethan.
Ethan? Ethan?
Are you all right?
You shouldn't be here.
What do you mean?
Soon after finding his wife, he's going to be forced into fighting her because she becomes hostile since she's infected with the virus. And in self-defense, he actually ends up killing Mia. Now I must make it clear that until this point, Ethan has no idea what's going on here. He doesn't know about the virus. He doesn't know that she's actually going to come back to life. Yet after killing her, he seems to cope with it pretty well. I mean, all you see is the movement of his hands. While there's no audio here, you can see that there are no subtitles. That's because he doesn't see a single word. You don't hear him cry or anything. He does not say a single thing. He does not make any sound. He just swallows it. He's like, okay, game. I found my wife. I killed her. Let's go home. You know what I mean? He goes to answer the phone. And let me show you how the reaction should be.
Ethan? Ethan! Oh! Ethan! Ethan!
So after fighting Mia several times, you're going to defeat her, and Ethan is going to get abducted by Jack Baker and introduced to the Baker family, Lucas, Marguerite, and Jack himself. This is one of my favorite cutscenes in the game, although calling it a cutscene is a bit strange since it's an in-game footage. But still, it's awesome. I love the way they interact with each other and with Ethan, and I love their dialect. So I'm just gonna let you enjoy this one before we move on.
Where am I? What the hell?
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's time for supper.
Who are all you people? Where's Mia?
Eat it. It's good.
Dumb son bitch wasn't no good if it hit him.
Yes.
Not again. Get out the way, Marguerite. Hit boy's got to eat. He got to have his supper. Come here, boy. Let's do this.
Shit, oh shit, oh shit! He's not eating it, Jack! He's not eating
Shut
it!
the hell up, Marguerite!
I made that for him!
Get the hell out of here!
You're a son of a bitch! Oh, I can't believe it! You son of a bitch! He's not eating it! He's not eating it!
This was supposed to be a very special feast. Come on, boy. God damn it! I'll bet it's that cop again. Goddamn pigs! I'm coming back for you.
So ironically, Ethan's actually going to have a chance to talk to that same policeman. I want you to listen to this conversation.
Hey, over here. Open up.
Hey, you gotta help me.
Hold on, back up. Now, sir, do you live here? I mean, is this your property?
What? Me? No. No.
All right. Now, we got several calls about some missing persons lately.
You don't understand. I gotta get out of here.
Now, calm down.
You're not listening to me. There are crazy people in this house trying to fucking kill me.
Well, all right. Let me tell you this. You don't exactly seem like you're playing with a full deck yourself, all right?
Are you kidding me?
Look, like I said, we've had several missing persons calls. And I can't rule out that an outsider like yourself may not be involved.
All right. I'll tell you whatever you want.
All right. Now that's more like it. Now, meet me in the garage. We'll talk there.
Hey, wait. You gotta give me your gun.
You must have lost your mind.
Look, officer.
Deputy.
Right. Deputy. Now, do you want to see my name in the obituaries? Or do you want to be a hero and save my life? A fucking pocket knife?
Here. Take it. It's all you're gonna get. Now go. Garage. Now.
What am I gonna do with a knife?
This was actually footage from my second playthrough, so I already have a gun in my hand, which I shouldn't be able to have, but since the second playthrough unlocks a special weapon, you get to carry it around fairly early. You're actually going to get the policeman's gun, as he is about to die any second now. But what is weird about this conversation is, well, where do I even start? First of all, Ethan's hand's been chopped up. Depending on how you play it, it can happen that even your foot got chopped up in the meantime, and you got to reattach it. So at this point, you're being cut to pieces, and you're taking it pretty relaxed that this guy is saying you're crazy, I'm not helping you. On the other end, the policeman is saying several missing persons reports, yet he doesn't take this guy seriously. So, you know, this is yet another one of those instances that really pissed me off, because as someone who really loves stories, and to me the story in a game is pretty much first, then comes gameplay and graphics, etc. If the story is good, I'm going to be captivated by it, because essentially it's just like in a movie or in a good book. You want a good story, and that's going to hold you on to the game. Although there are some exceptional games which provide such great gameplay that the story is just not relevant. Now, as you can see here, this is the boss fight with Jack, and this can also play out in several different ways. As you replay the game, you might stumble upon them. Sometimes actually Jack will get inside the car and start driving. Sometimes while you try to start the car, he will pull you out and start driving. And of course there's the case where you hear drive and run him over with the car several times. But if you pay attention, you're going to see that at some point, and this is scripted, so once you run him over several times, you're going to be ambushed by him from above, and he's going to take control of your car by simply holding the steering wheel. He's not pushing any pedals or anything, he's just controlling your car however he wants. Also, the car will be able to maneuver much better. Look at this almost 360 spin that you're doing here. Obviously, Jack has mind control over my legs or something because he's forcing me to drive into this. The character is actually saying he doesn't want to do it, but Jack is forcing him. But okay, these are gameplay sacrifices. I can look past them. Although they could have done this differently, I'm certain I could think of a way to make it differently, but I don't want to go into too many details because this video has been going on for very long and we're still fairly early into the game, but I just really wanted to show these points right now when they are actually happening. In the dinner cutscene, we saw almost a full Baker family, but one member was missing, and that was Zoe, the daughter. She's the one who's going to be helping us throughout this adventure.
You really shouldn't have come here.
Who's this? And what the fuck is going on?
My name's Zoe. There should be a way out through the attic.
Attic.
Go there. Now.
Unfortunately for Ethan, and therefore you, there are these assholes called the Molded, and they live in the mansion. They're going to be responsible for about 80 to 90% of your dying in the game, and 100% of the times when you need to change your pants, because they are actually designed to spawn in specific locations which should catch you off guard or just scare you. And they come in different varieties, each of them stronger than the last one. If you've heard anything about Resident Evil 7, it's probably the fact that it is supposed to be much closer to the first 3 games and further away from the more action-packed 4, 5 and 6. People often make that comparison and claim this because they did not like 4, 5 and 6, especially 5 and 6, which featured co-op and were very heavily action-packed. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed these 3 games, and therefore I don't think that would be a bad thing if this game was closer to them. But I have to agree with them to a certain point that Resident Evil 7 is much closer to 1, 2 and 3, simply because you have a more enclosed space, you're solving puzzles here, simple as they may be, you're micromanaging your inventory, collecting keys, so you have this similarity to the first games, but then again Resident Evil 7 is quite unique, and I would go as far as to say it's its own game. Even the story feels very much separated from the original Resident Evil universe, although by the end we find out that that is not necessarily the case. Now when it comes to graphics and performance, this game generally runs really smooth and really well. What they have done is they've created a world which is basically without loading screens except when you enter a video cassette and after a video cassette footage. But when you reach certain places where there would be a hidden loading screen, in my case I would have a slight stutter for a second. Unfortunately, this would repeat itself whenever I approach a hidden loading screen and partially when I exit out of one. So this is something you have to live with. I've actually checked the forums and most people don't have this. So it could be just something related to my configuration, or it could be something that people don't talk much about. In any case, it's still great and I prefer it to actual loading screens. Another great improvement from previous games that I see is the lack of QuickTime events. The only thing that I could compare to a QuickTime event is the fight against Mia, where you're told to press the left mouse button once to retaliate, and perhaps later fight with Jack where you need to inject him with the antidote. It's told that you have to press a certain button for that as well. So I wanted to show you this interesting video here. I'm fighting Jack Baker the second time here, and this is my 3rd playthrough. And the interesting thing is he's actually going to cut off my leg now. Now this was the first time I've seen this happen during this boss fight, although I had played through the game 2 more times in the past. I came well prepared for this fight, I'm full with ammo and healing items, and this is the moment where he actually surprises me with this move. I tried to heal, and as you can see it says you can't use this as is. So I try to figure out what the problem is, and then I see my leg staying there on the ground. Obviously I need to loot it, but I didn't have any space, so I had to delete a herb in order to loot it. And that's where I'm talking about the micromanaging your inventory, and this is how replaying the game is worth it, because the game manages to put you, even when you're very comfortable with it, very used to everything, it puts you in a stressing situation that you did not expect, and scares you basically. While I did not fear actual fear, it definitely got me out of my comfort zone, and I would say that's another point for Resident Evil. That was pretty cool. Earlier I mentioned that you need to collect a certain type of coins in order to be able to buy special items. This is where it happens, where you can actually buy these items. That's where the magic happens. And one of those items is actually the 44 Magnum. Now this item is the most expensive item available here, and it will make you feel when you see it first like this is the thing you need. It's gotta be good, right? But the drawback is that while the Magnum is the strongest weapon in the game, you will struggle to find any ammo for it. Throughout the whole game, on your first playthrough, if you're not extremely lucky or reading some kind of guide, you'll probably find something to the effect of 3-4 bullets for it altogether, which is very disappointing since you invested a lot of coins into it. And really, if you ask me, the time when the Magnum is really coming in handy is after you beat the game on Madhouse difficulty and you unlock the limitless ammo. After that, you could just go for something like a speed run. That's what I basically did. I bought the Magnum as soon as I could, and I immediately went on a rampage with this super strong weapon with infinite ammo, and it was a lot of fun. As you're fighting your way through the Baker Manor, you're going to find out that there isn't that much to be had in terms of story. Unfortunately, the Bakers are not willing to cooperate with Ethan at any point, and Mia has lost pretty much all memories of what has happened. You're going to find files here and there, and some of them will actually contain very subtle hints about the bigger secret, but this secret will be revealed to you at the end of the game, and it's highly unlikely that you will figure it out on your own. At least I couldn't, so you know, I'm pretty sure that there'll be more intelligent people out there, but I for myself was exactly as the developers were expecting and was fairly surprised right at the end of the game. It's pretty obvious that the little girl who resembles the girl from the movie The Ring is responsible for pretty much everything, but it's still interesting to see how they add a little twist to it. So I advise you to keep paying attention to the story and you'll have more fun this way. Now before you reach the ship and Mia starts remembering stuff, you actually have to make a choice, which is extremely obvious and is going to determine whether you get the bad ending or the good ending of the game. And I strongly advise you try the game a second time and intentionally make the wrong choice, because the right choice is super obvious. I mean, come on, I'm not gonna spoil that either, but it's just really obvious. So replay the game, make the wrong choice. There's a funny kind of a conversation coming after that. At least it amused me somewhat. So that's something that you should definitely give a try. The last segment of the game is the one that's action-packed. You're going to be fighting a lot more molded here, and you're going to only get a few breathers between fights. Now, this is, however, not something that I find so bad. While some people complain about it and say that the horror before that was subtle, and now suddenly there's just action and no horror anymore, I gotta say, at this point, you're well prepared, you're well armed, so it's a natural conclusion of things. If you just had to fight one or two molded, it would just be no challenge whatsoever anymore. And since you've been playing the game for quite a few hours at this point, especially if it's your first playthrough, you're going to feel comfortable with these enemies and you're not going to be scared when you see one or two. If you ask me, this action-packed situation is actually what you need to keep you on your toes and keep the game interesting, as well as it adds some variety to the whole gameplay. Especially this literal last sequence here that you see in the video where you fight two of the really fat guys. This is hard, you know, especially the first time when you see them. You have no idea how to deal with these guys, and you're going to have your ass kicked if you're not careful. That's why the game places a generous checkpoint here, just to make sure that you don't regret it. And when it comes to these checkpoints and stuff, this is something that is available on easy and normal, but as soon as you get to Madhouse difficulty, it's one of those things that you should pretty much forget about. So you've heard me mention Madhouse difficulty several times. This is why I'm going to explain what it is now. First of all, you get limited saves, so if you want to save, you need to use one of these cassettes, which are available to find throughout the whole house and other places. Then you have no more checkpoints, so if you die, you're probably gonna have to load up a save. All the items have been mixed up, all the mobs have been mixed up, so mobs will spawn in different places. Then you also have more gold coins and different things to buy with them, things that are not available in the past, like keys or even different items. And of course, you will have the bosses who spawn like Jack Baker be much faster and more aggressive and spawn more often. But if you power through all of this, and I promise you it's not as hard as it sounds, you're actually going to be rewarded with the biggest reward of them all, infinite ammo, making it possible for you to use your Magnum in the next playthrough, and a promise for an additional free DLC called Not a Hero, where we'll find who that guy at the end of the game really is. So after so many hours having put into this game and having played through it 5 times, I've obviously enjoyed it quite a lot. It sometimes did frustrate me, especially during Madhouse playthroughs, but most of these times it was absolutely my fault. And while I do have some issues with how Ethan is portrayed and his behavior, I still think that the voice acting was absolutely stellar, and I think that the story is absolutely okay at the end of the day. I mean, it is a Resident Evil game, and I didn't expect the deepest or most interesting story. I was not disappointed. I think the antagonists, the bakers mostly, are awesome. The little girl is pretty fun too, but it's nothing too special. And I'm really looking forward to the DLCs, which I will probably cover on this channel as well. It's been a very long review, and I would like to thank you for watching it so patiently. I hope you've reached this part of it, and I hope to see you on my next video. Thank you for watching. This is Nino signing out.